I think I got it for the first time right, and right on time and everything else. Okay. Well, how nifty is that? Hmm. All right. Start off by saying a happy Saturday night to everybody and everybody around. I've been moving around a ton of stuff in the old office here, and sorry, I just got out of the shower. But um, let's get started. Um, what I really wanted to talk about tonight, I guess, fixture. All right. More than anything, is it was my birthday this week, and that's not really what I wanted to talk about so much. Is it's the fact that it just a little over, well, not a little, about a year and some months ago, I was told that I was terminal, I was going to die. There's nothing that could be done. It was over with. Go ahead and make my arrangements, plans, talk to family, whatever I needed to do. It's all such a cluster to me of what happened, what I went through, and everything else. I just remember specifically, when I was told, okay, um, it's over with. Because when the doctor was sitting there saying it, she was doing it in a roundabout way, and I was like, uh, just shoot it to me straight. I had actually just sobered up like within the last hour or so. Because when I came in the hospital, my blood alcohol level was a point 5.3 or 5.4, which is 2 points over dead in the first place. But I was, I can remember, and they informed me, that I was just dancing around and happy go lucky, and all of a sudden I crashed. I could finally see, like, my skin was like completely like this odd green color, and just what a trip. But anyway, she's sitting there talking to Nurse Beth and I said, "Can you just give it to me straight, like something you see in the movie?" She's like, "Are you sure you want me to give it to you straight?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I don't necessarily know that that's what I wanted when it was all said and done. But she said, maybe you got 3 days, maybe you've got a week, but more than likely by next Saturday, you probably won't be here. So, make any arrangements before then, and so on. And that's the gist of that story. But that was in late May, early June of 2021. And, I can remember those thoughts as I was, and all the time that I was in the hospitals. But they kept extending my life expectancy as I went along there. And, uh, just kept thinking, once it hit heavier and heavier, I'm not going to be here for my birthday. Okie dokie. It's a surreal experience to sit there and know that, and try and put any kind of thoughts together. Like, I can almost put myself back in the headspace um, a little bit right now as I go along. Well, since then, the bigger point is that I've had two birthdays. I don't do Thanksgiving, Christmas, 4th of July, whatever. I've had plenty of holidays and birthdays, and that's where it comes into what's the bigger picture here. Is it's I for a long time I've always said that I didn't have anything to do with my recovery, and I don't just believe that. This is fully faith, and the salvation, the restoration of my life it's undeniable. In recent months and the recent year, I've got offended by people, back and forth saying, his testimony can't be real, and he's embellishing and exaggerating it. I think I talked about this last week, and man, I used to really, really get like pretty ticked off about that uh, in general, and now it's like it was a couple of weeks ago. I actually sat down and I was, praying, and it was heavy on my mind because somebody else had just said something to me about it, and I mean, there's my pictures are on Facebook of me laying in a hospital bed dying. There's ones of me trying to communicate in videos where I can't even talk. I'm just like, save me or let me go or, something. It's mostly incoherent babble for the most part. But that doesn't it all take away from all this. And I put up my records. I've heard in recent times that the stupid, just asinine rumors that start up. I heard that secretly that I was dying of AIDS, and I mean, just anything and everything you can imagine. That I overdosed on crack. I've heard that once. And substance use disorder is substance use disorder. So I try not to differentiate between them, but I've never done crack. I don't, never done heroin. And I didn't come from that background. What I did was alcohol. And, and I abused it to a point of being deadly. I mean, I was in complete end stage. That's, a little bit further on there, end stage liver failure. And, I've come out of that all. But getting back to the point of the matter is that it gets discounted now. This isn't real. This can't be true. He didn't go through this. He needs attention. He's making this up to get attention. Whatever else nonsense goes on. It came to me there when I was sitting there, praying about it. Do I just keep forgiving these people who say this? What am I supposed to do? I'm still human when it goes along. So take my hurt feelings and I put them aside. And I said, well, kind of a conversation with Christ there himself. And it came down to it's not my miracle. It's not anything I did. The denial or the saying the exaggeration or anything else is that's directly questioning God right there. And that's up to you to do. Does it annoy me? Lord, yes, you don't want to go through what I went through. And in the same breath, I'll say that I wouldn't change it as well. And I say that many times. But the fact I don't own God's work, I don't own the fact that I'm healthy right now, that I'm back, that I'm better than I have been in 20 years. And that's easily the truth. I'll take it to 26 years just to be pretty spot on as much as I can. But my health is phenomenal. I mean, in it's medically impossible. I don't know how much harder I can drill that into anybody. There's no medical explanation. I can't get a medical explanation. So I take it. And there was one time I was at the doctor and she said, I just can't explain this. I said, well, I think I can. And I was like, pointed up, and that was actually the guy doctor. And he said, what the hell is that supposed to mean? And I was like, I guess that means you're fired. I don't know. But I'm kind of like that. So I always say something off the wall. But it's the point is when I was doing my testimonies and the deniers, it takes me back to stuff that I've learned all through life. Well, I'm not Jesus, but they're not denying me. They're denying Christ's work. And Christ's work is the real deal. It's right here. I am a walking, breathing, living miracle. And not by my design, not by hospital's design, nobody else's. And I'm not the guy to sit there and Bible beat people. And, I get considered to be a lot of things. I'm not religious enough. Um, for who, I don't know. I don't care. And I hear this all the time. And the battle I've been fighting isn't against the battle of being sober and sobriety. I don't fight a battle with that. And that's the biggest message that I can say right there. And the reason I don't fight a battle with that is because God's given me that gift. I can't explain it. It goes against any explanations or anything AA is going to tell you or anything rehab's going to tell you or anything else. I don't have cravings. I don't get shakes and feel like I need a drink anymore. It's just when it became coming to fruition after the first time I went to the liver doctor, after I came home to die, They had told Nurse Beth, when I get home, expect me to be gone maybe 3 days, maybe 3 weeks, that again. So, I mean, it was like, okay, let's just let him die in peace, sitting there watching TV. And, which was, I thought that was going to be grandiose and great, but, I'm just sitting there waiting to die. And I was actually content with it. I didn't go through the stages of death and dying. I didn't say poor me. What I said was from the beginning, when I found out that I was actually going to die, I sat there and said, I remember Beth looked over at me and told me, that she was, sorry that, this was happening. And I could see the emotion and the tear in her eye per se. And, I was like, I did this to myself. I didn't blame anybody. It's the first time in years I didn't sit there and say it was my sister's fault. It was this person's fault. It was society's fault. I went to a Bon Jovi concert one time and they put on a bad show. It was their fault. That's a typical cycle of the manipulation of the spirit that is alcohol. And because you not only manipulate everybody else, you manipulate yourself. And I hear all the time, well, it's a disease, or they do that to themselves. I mean, just it's a plethora of things. The one thing I can debunk, and I need to make clear, is I am in school getting my master's degree in behavioral psychology now, with a concentration in substance abuse. So all along during the period when I was drinking, and I mean drinking heavy, it was a 1.75 liter of Tito's vodka a day, and that was with no food pretty much for months. I mean, for months, for a long time, and hopeless, helpless, whatever it needs to be called. I had given up on life. Period. I mean, I was going from hotel to whatever. It was somewhere around $40,000 spent during this period of time that I was just really, really trying to kill myself, but not. I don't want to say gutsy. I mean, but I just like the slowest, most torture filled process that I could imagine. I think back of some of that stuff now, and it's scary. I mean, it's scary. Some of the situations I put myself into, uh, I really could have been killed not by alcohol, but by other means. And it wasn't. I never drank and drive, but I don't know how that got instilled in me, and it's not even a bragging thing now, but it's just something I didn't do. I don't know why. But getting back to it again, before for those that are newer tuning in, I tend to jump down rabbit holes. If I do, feel free to comment and tell me to hush or something. I don't know. But the miracle that does exist. This is stuff that 2 years ago I would have flat out said was BS. I would have, been like, this is just another. Oh, my life's reformed because I almost died, or one of those dudes just got out of jail and now all of a sudden they found God and everything's hokey pokey, and or hokey dokey, and things like that. But that's not at all what happened. Is it was one day in bed when I got home. I'm counting time to die, and I thought it was going to be so great being home just to have TV and peace and not all the hospital noises and not all the just rigmarole. I mean, it was, and to be able to be comfortable and maybe take my last days to, just, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have a good explanation or any kind of thought process on that. But it was one day, what I'm leaving out is when I left I weigh 190 pounds now. When I left the hospital, I was 115 pounds, and couldn't walk, couldn't get up to do anything normal, wash my hands, go to the shower, go to the bathroom, go to the fridge and get a drink. Um, and I had started getting frustrated at this point, and I think this was like, my memory's really foggy on it all. It comes back in spurts, a lot. recently, and uh, so let's just say 3 weeks, just for the process. It's probably shorter, but so I'm laying there in bed and I'm by myself because I had actually fired hospice. I do not remember doing this. This was all filled into me from Nurse Beth later on because I couldn't stand somebody sitting there asking me every few minutes, if I needed anything or to check my blood pressure or to chart me in, okay, is he getting closer? It's like, at the time I can remember this, it reminded me of when my sister was in the hospital having her second kid, where they were, counting the time between contractions. And, that's just what I equated it to then. But, just this one day, I was just in this mood, like, it's close to getting where I would feel sorry for myself, but not there. I never actually felt sorry for myself in this process. I kind of just really believed that I was getting what I deserved. And, so, I'm frustrated. I want a glass of orange juice so bad it's killing me. And, the more you think about it, the more obsessive it gets. And that's exactly what was going on. So I think I can will myself out of bed, like, I can do it. I've got the strength. I've been walking for 40 some years. Well, I can do it now. So I try and get up and stand up out of bed and I hit the floor. And I mean, I hit the floor hard. And, just laying there and I cannot get back up. I mean, I positioned myself enough to barely get my body leaned up against the side of the bed. And, I remember at that point, I just, I said real quick, like, God, just please forgive me for the sins I've committed because I know I committed them of my own free will. And I beg and pray for you to come in my heart and guide me in the right direction. And I thought that was it. I thought that was it. That was going to be my little saving grace prayer. I'm dying and I'm going to die. Okay, now I've asked for forgiveness. That didn't happen. I sat there and I kept thinking, and it's like, how they say your life flashes before your eyes, but it was like literally everything going in reverse. And I'm thinking of all these things that are going through my head, like what I did wrong. And I'm asking for forgiveness for this. I'm asking for forgiveness for my mom for things that happened 25 years ago before she passed away. And this ends up lasting 2.5 hours. And I just specifically remember looking at the clock and I've got, big crocodile tears coming out of my eyes. And I was like, I felt something then that was undescribable. And can't put a value on it. It's impossible to explain, but it was like a weight lifted. And it's not like something where I just hopped up and was bouncing around. It was like, hey, I can do jumping jacks now. It was a peace that I'd never felt before. And from that day, it was within a couple of days that I had to go back to the doctor because they're wondering why I was living so long, is basically what happened. And so, I get to the hospital and they're running tests, and I was like, all right, I had my little comeback. So I'm expecting the worst. That's what I'm accustomed to because every time they would come and see me, it's some kind of worse news. And I think I was there 2, 3, 4 hours. I don't even know. And it comes back and the doctor, and she's a saint. I mean, she's really a saint. I tell her how much she means to me every time I email her to this day. And it says, I don't know how to explain this, but you're healing. It may be a fluke. It's probably a fluke. No, don't get too much hope up. And end stage liver cirrhosis, kidney failure. I was so jaundiced, it was ridiculous. I had a diverticulitis, GI bleed. I was bleeding out from the inside. I mean, literally, it's like putting him out of his misery. And so that was a little bit of like, okay. And I remember going home and I was like, this whole time when all this was going on, I just kept, talking to God in little spurts, like, I don't understand what's my calling, what am I doing, what do I need to do before I can go, and I'm still thinking, I'm gonna die, and then a month goes past, and I just keep getting better. It's to the point where they actually sent out occupational therapists and physical therapists for me, um, because I was getting a little bit of movement where I could start using a walker. And so, finally, after a month or so, I was able to. They got me a bench to go in the bathtub, and I had a walker. And so, I remember sitting on that bench and just like, I mean, like this, like, I had no strength whatsoever. There's a good picture of me on Facebook the day I stood up in my walker. And I mean, my, I don't even know how to explain how skinny I was. I mean, it was like, yeah, it was like that movie Sixth Sense where uh, Bruce Willis sees a really skinny guy in the bathroom who ends up being what's his name, Donnie Wahlberg. But I mean, it was like skeletal skinny, like just I don't know whether to call it. It was ugly to look at, and so I'm in there and I get a bath, and this feels like the greatest thing in the world just happened. And I was able to use the walker a little bit more, for the next couple of days. I was able to use it with somebody with me because I was pretty, I still didn't really have any leg strength. But, and that got progressive and more progressive. And one day, I'm sitting there and I'm thanking God, and I'm still just saying, what is my purpose, because I had no clue. I don't know what's going on with me. I don't know if this is uh, I'm being kept alive just to relive all the bad stuff I did in life, or to uh, make amends with uh, everybody. I just didn't know. And but there's just one day, there's a short video of it on my Facebook. It's like 15 seconds because I had my phone in my hand, and I had fallen to the floor, and I couldn't get back up. I was alone at this point. I wasn't supposed to be getting out of bed by myself, but so I'd fallen to the floor, and I was like um, trying to get myself up in the video. I mean, it's sad, scary, sad for me to watch still, but I had to screw with the volume a million times and run it through a voice thing on the computer to figure out what I said, but I was saying "save me" over and over again. And somehow, from these days and that day praying, and this feeling, this just strange feeling. I wasn't like, I can't wait to have another drink, or I wasn't going through any of that. I was going through a thing where I truly realized, and I take this from an interview I saw years ago, um, and it was from Jim Morrison of the Doors. He's walking through I don't know, backstage or something, and this interviewer lady asked him, what happened to make him the way he is now. And he just has this weird smirk on his face, and he says, "Heartache and the loss of God." And then just walked off. I mean, that was it. The dude wasn't somebody to be interviewed, but I always kept that with me for some reason and thought about it. And what was my major failure? What was my downfall in this life that I was going through? And it was truly, even when I went to rehab before, like 6 months before I drank for the next 6 months, and that was a faith based rehab. And when I was in there, I slowly started realizing that I had a complete loss of God. Like, that's why it kind of irks me when people say, I'm not religious enough. I've always been religious. I could always sit there and say I believed in God. But in these days, as I started healing, and this was a process, I mean, this was a year-long process. And uh, this is what makes me human, is it's so hard to explain certain things that go on. But I just kept getting better, and I was waiting for the bubble to burst. It was two or three more visits to the doctor for MRIs, CT scans, and everything else, my liver, my kidneys, I had ammonia on my head. I was so close to uh, death that ammonia actually gathers up in your brain because it's got nowhere else to go or something medical that I don't really know how to explain. But I know that's why I was so loopy for so long, and it was like what you see described as like a hallucinogenic trip for a long period of time. Like I would, when I was still in the hospital, I would like, be up at like 3 or 4, no telling what time it was. Total time deprivation, and I'd call Beth, the only number I remembered, and be like, you got to come get me. I'm at the airport, and there was one time I seriously though did sneak out of the hospital in Richmond, Kentucky. Ended up in Lexington, Kentucky. Nobody knows how I got there. I didn't have a wallet, didn't have my glasses, didn't have anything. Ended up on my best friend's um, front porch. And literally nobody knows how I got there, but that's a different story. So let's go back to the healing again. And it started going quicker and quicker. And it was around December when I was really like, I realized how humble I'd gotten after that prayer from that one day, and humbled, and I was becoming more and more grateful. And it was all in the timing on this one, but then Christmas, and I was grateful, and I was like, I finally started coming around to what I should have realized. It doesn't matter when I realized it, but I was filled, absolutely filled with faith, because all the naysayers, all the death and dying people, I mean, they kept putting a bracelet on me. It's called a DNR, the Do Not Resuscitate bracelet. And Beth would keep cutting it off when she came to see me, because she had medical power of attorney over me, because I couldn't make decisions on my own. And I was just, who knows? I remember being at a Led Zeppelin concert at one point in the hospital, but um, uh, and that faith is what I carried with me when I started moving forward, because really I didn't ride that pink cloud, as the people like to say. Um, I will fully admit I was a little bit, nervous. Am I going to get out in the car and be like, screw it, I'm so much better. I can grab a drink. It ain't going to hurt nobody. Man, no desire whatsoever. And I remember I drove to Lexington and then to Nicholasville and did a testimony at Revive in Nicholasville. And that's the first time I drove. First time I drove since I was able to. And I remember talking about being a nervous Nelly on the highway. That was a scary drive. It just was. The tailgating and the whatever. But after I did that testimony, I was like, where do I go from here? Yeah, I've spent the last 10 years, actually 20 some years in sales, whether it be real estate, or at one point I did mortgages. At one point I did car sales. I've done car financing. I've just always been in that selling life. And I did good at it. And that's, I mean, I didn't I can't tell that story where I like, suffered physically, or, something, like that, which is not taken away from anything on anybody else. But mentally, I was destroyed a long time ago. Several things had gone on in my life that I just, whatever, put it to the back burner, and so on and so on. Now, I'm somebody that's obviously big on psychology and also mental health. And when it comes to around January of that year, this is right after I had done my first testimony, I was doing therapy, a faith based therapy. And it got into it where, I'd been diagnosed as bipolar, manic depressive, everything else. Every time they change it, every time a different doctor, some other diagnosis, man. And it was always, the way I put it is, I would get to points where it was a darkness more than light, more than night. I'm sorry. And I would get so just dark in here that nothing would make me happy. There wasn't the Zoloft didn't work, nothing else worked, and I would get in this habit of not a habit, a pathetic self medication binge that would go anywhere from a weekend to 6 months to a year. And that's the way I handled things. I'd quit taking my Zoloft and I'd just drink to make the pain go away. Well, the deeper I got into this therapy, it ends up that some horrible things that had happened to me in childhood, I had repressed for so long. I was fighting a battle inside my own head. And, so they finally, I get diagnosed with PTSD. And I went through this therapy that was much like the prayer that I did where I was going backwards in time. So we were going back in 2 year increments, but from the time I was first cognitive memories around 3 to 4. So we went from 3 to 5 to 5 to 7, and you progress like that. And I was remembering things that I would have never, I don't even know where they came from. And, getting all that out again, all the weight got lighter and lighter and lighter. And, I was still confused. I'm still going through this. You know, I'm Goodloe. Say what I want. I don't care who I offend or anything else. Which I can say that's changed, but in some ways it still doesn't, because what I never knew I was going to have to deal with when I came out to give my testimony is I was like, okay, I want to dip my feet in. See, this Christian community, man, they've got to be great. Everybody's got to be wrong, and about the Bible beaters and stuff. And I will tell you flat out, I got my ass kicked by this. There's a hush hush mentality in Central Kentucky where, like, if you know somebody's doing horrible things, like bad things to other people, you're not supposed to say anything about it. Doesn't matter. To me now, well, they call it gossip. To me, if I know somebody's doing something horrible, I'll say it to them, and I'll say it to the ones that are hurting. And I do it like that. And that's just the way it goes. But the point is these people that are all coming out of the same rehab I went to, and this is not all people, I'm not generalizing everybody there, but there's a good chunk of these fellas that go in there and figure out how to use empathy as a weapon, which became very important to me in my study of psychology, because you go on to um, social media, Facebook, for example, and you see the word narcissistic constantly all day by somebody. And I'll use an example of I've seen one young lady that put something up about once a month about how narcissistic somebody can be in a different relationship every month, 12 times a year. And that's not, it's not true. It's not as common as people think, the diagnosis of narcissism or narcissistic. It's really not. But there's this phenomenon of people who are very empathetic and show their empathy on the outside, that can be turned against them so easily by the poor me, which is an old saying that this old guy told me a long time ago. I wish I would have listened better. Poor me, poor me, poor me, another. So then they get in these wicked cycles. And I'm learning, I've got a family member, a sister, who tells me all the time the reason she has no interest in Christianity is because of the hypocrisy. And that used to bother me. Now I see it though, because I can see these people that come out and they're praise Jesus, and but behind your back they're stealing from you. They're lying. It's a con, and it's a con job, and it's getting so twisted that, to me, I have a version of Jesus that I know is all love. And I mean, when he picked me up from a grave. I mean, literally, I was dead. I mean, there's no better way to explain it. This isn't no hoodoo voodoo trying to sell snake oil. I don't want anything. I'm not charging to speak or do testimonies or charging to give people advice, but I'm telling you how I quit drinking, how what happened, what really happened, and that is I was hit in the head with a hammer full of love, and God brought me back to I'm a different person. I mean, there's an old Pearl Jam song that says, I change by not changing at all. Small time predicts my fate, etc. But I'm a person of actions, not of, I'll get on here and talk, obviously, but I'm a person that I go to Lexington at least once a month and get a big supply of Narcan. Not for myself, but man, you don't know. There's instances where people, fall out in a convenience store. There's instances where you could be driving down the road and somebody fall out. It's because this fentanyl poisoning is ridiculously everywhere. I mean, everywhere. It's man, 70% of all overdoses since 2019, 70% of all overdose deaths were opiate fentanyl related. And that is a scary statistic, especially considering that 107,000 people died of fentanyl poisoning last year. And it's tragic, but how do you stop it? There's only one way to stop it, and it's awareness. When I tell people my story, my testimony, that story is Christ's story. It's not Goodloe's story. It's really to enhance the truth of the matter is I did nothing to get better. I drank myself to death. God said, it's not your time yet. You got to go out and you got to change some things. So getting back to my work history is I could have easily gone back into the car business and done just fine and dandy. I mean, I think when I was last working, it was several thousand a week. Anyway, I could easily go back to a six-figure lifestyle, and I'm taking a pay cut because I'm back in school to get my master's to hit substance abuse, substance use disorder, alcohol use disorder, and to have a legitimacy to it as well. I mean, I've got the experience, and that's not a thing to brag about. Yeah, I'm an experienced drunk, but it's true. So I kind of know as well when I fully like woke up and grasped the reality of where I am and where I was going and where I need to go. The road's much straighter now than it was the roundabout way that I chose to go for so many years. And so I decided I'm going back to school. I'm going to finish this. I'm 45 years old, man. 46. And did I want to be in school? No. But what did God call me to do? So now I've had this unique opportunity from death to come back and live a totally new life, and it's really like starting over. I can carry some stuff from the past with me from experience because I do understand. I know what it was like to talk to therapists and counselors and psychologists who have read everything in the world, but they didn't understand the finite issues that go on there. And one of the bigger issues is trust. And if you can't trust your therapist, your counselor, or so on, it's never going to work. And my theory is, and going back and doing all this, and you know, a lot of people helped me out, by the way, when I got out because I was close to a point of losing everything, period. And a lot of people helped me, and I haven't forgot that, and I never forget that. and I always do what I say I'm going to do to return the favor. And right now, even before I went in the hospital, I was wearing a shirt and tie every day. I've been doing that for 20 some years. And now I can sit back and I'm wearing Beastie Boys tonight. And, uh, you know, just get back to life through God, through Christ, through the salvation that was given to me. And the moral of the story tonight, the whole moral of the story is my understanding through Christ that it's not me they're denying. So I need to not get, as they say, butthurt over what people are saying that I'm fabricating. You can't fabricate. You can't make this up. You can't exaggerate my story. It's unbelievable, but that's the coolest part about God is maybe it's not as tangible. Maybe you can't touch it, smell it, taste it, feel it, see it. And yet I can walk down the road, and that's a road that I shouldn't be walking on according to all things medical. So if there is somebody to say there's no such thing as a miracle and there's no such thing as God, and what happened to me is quite frankly bullshit, then it's not me there that's being denied. It's Christ, and that's the gift He's given me now because I'm still learning and growing as I go along. I mean, there are times where I want to throw in the towel, and I mean, throw a finger up in the air and be done with certain people, places, and things. But I've learned to sit back and take advice. And by that advice, I mean, sometimes I can be extremely irritated, annoyed, however you want to look at it. And sit there and pray, meditate, take a long bath, put some candles out, uh, read Sound Advice by Corey Thomas. And I'll get to that in a second. And I'm getting ready to read a devotional as well. But take advice from the source of life that I was given. And, it's so trivial when people say, I don't deserve to be here right now. You know what? Obviously, I do deserve to be here for some reason. And it's nothing bragger. And I really don't care if it comes off that way. But I'm on the dean's list and I'm taking stuff in like a sponge. And I can see somebody a mile away who's lying to me about something. And I don't know if I had these gifts before, but it's something that God's given me. And it's honestly a big help in helping others, except we don't help anyone. God's a helper. We can assist. And I still have words of habit that I'm trying to get over. And I'm not talking about curse words. I'm Generation X. That's a given. And besides, if I was over in Scotland, like my grandparents, there's no cuss words there anyway. But beyond that point, but things like addiction, help. I know one thing that just rubbed me wrong this past year, and it was a good lesson for me, is there was a rehab that had advertised we're helping save one life at a time, and that's not true. And because we're not. Um, uh, Listen, if we've got an expiration date, it's God's decision. I have two parents that never smoked, never drank. My mom was dead in her 40s from several forms of cancer that went metastatic. Um, my dad, who was from World War II, a tough. He had me late in life, by the way, and a tough guy. And he died of sepsis from getting a cochlear implant. And he was 79, I believe it was. But my point is he had a cousin who was the exact same age as him, drank a case of Budweiser, the mini ones, the 7 ounces a day. a fifth of Jack Daniels, and I never once saw him without a cigarette. He outlived my dad by about 20 years, it seems like. But um, and I'm not advising anybody to go drink and smoke a ton of cigarettes by any means, but the most important thing I've learned through all this is faith, and the it's grown to be my favorite question because I can give a full, truth filled, heartfelt answer. Is that's what, would you go back and change it? Would you go back and not drink and not go through what you went through? And my answer is always going to be the same, because it's no, because I would have never understood the gift that's given to us when we are speck and become part of this earth that's so toxic at times, and the gift of love and life, and the gift we're able to spread if we want to, the gift to assist others, the gift to give a hand out, the gift to love, the gift to be loved. I think I was unlovable. I joke around with my sister a lot. I mean, she literally goes to Africa and does surgeries for kids and has to be surrounded by a bunch of army guards with M16s, and scares me to death. I never tell her that, but it really scares me. But she does all this stuff, and she's always volunteering, doing something and doing something. But again, she won't identify as a Christian because of the hypocrisy, and that's something that we as Christians need to take upon ourselves. And I'll give you a heartbreaker here for, and this is just an opinion of mine. This does not reflect Endure, doesn't reflect anything on Spotify or anything else. But prosperity theology, to me, is a true tool of the devil. And I can take this back that you can't, in any way, put a price on a miracle. You can't. And and if people googled more and researched more, maybe got a better understanding of this life that we live, prosperity theology, i.e., Joel Osteen and Jim Tammy Faye Baker, it comes from roots of the occult. It does. Study. I'm good at it. I look things up. I don't like to talk by opinion. I don't use social media as a news source. I've really hit recently where I've come to a real understanding that everybody is blaming Fox on one side, everybody's blaming CNBC, or somebody's blaming MSNBC, and then CBS is somewhere in the mix too. It's not. It's the stuff. Let's take Alex Jones for example, the Sandy Hook hoax, and it takes one person, and then that spreads, and that becomes news to social media without reliable sources. And I'm just I'm a political person. I studied political science for a long period in life, and try and stay away from it as much as possible now. But just a little bit of compassion and understanding goes a long way. Like, instead of playing a blame game, for example, and I bring this up constantly, but let's say Joe Biden with the gas prices, where it's, everybody's putting those stickers on the gas pumps that says, go Brandon. Joe Biden didn't raise the gas prices. It's a global market pricing situation. And he's not president of Ireland or Canada either, as far as I know. And the kicker to this is it wasn't Trump's fault either. But if you took it for a realistic point of view and you just used simple research, even I've got a good economic background as well. But if you look, gas prices rose 30% during Trump's last year, 30%, 16% more when Biden took over. But because of the convenient blame game, it's all trickled to being Biden's effect. And I don't think that's what Reagan meant and George Bush Sr. years ago when they meant the trickle down effect. Um, but anyway, I don't want to get too political. I'm just saying, we've got a better chance to love and be loving to each other. But by that, I also mean that I fully, and I prayed on this a ton because there's people out there that I really just want to backhand. The people who are false witness and who will just sit there and praise Jesus all day to you, and they're doing horrible things behind the name of God, which is, by the way, I got one person who was diehard against this. Research stuff like that, like the Jim and Tammy Faye Baker. That's truly using the Lord's name in vain, and it doesn't take much thought into that. Is I actually had a priest explain that to me one time, and it's just things like that that we could think about. And if we spent more time loving each other and solving problems, but right now, I think we don't think. It's. I hate to say I'm of that generation, but it's just a fact that you know, our decisions, our votes are politicking. There's my Kentucky reference for the night. Um, is generally going to affect our grandchildren, great grandchildren. This isn't as quick of a process as everybody thinks. Every time the president changes, the whole world changes. It doesn't work that way. But I didn't want to get into that. But like I said, I'm good with rabbit holes. But so for my birthday this year, I've got the greatest gift of all, which is the love of God, the faith I have, and the miracle that is. That's where you say, "Praise Jesus." There's no me in this. This was all God, and that's the most amazing thing and the most amazing story I have to tell about my whole life. And I'm grateful and I'm very, very thankful. And real quick, I wanted to do a commercial, then I'll explain it. This is for a good friend of mine who I adore. If I would consider anybody a good, real inspiration in my life, it would be Corey Thomas. And he's written this book about sound advice. And let me play the commercial for you, and I'll be right back.
Author evangelist Corey Thomas, a dedicated servant leader whose weapons are spiritual in nature and volatile in impact. Hot off the press, author evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Matthew 5:13, ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost his flavor, wherewith shall it be salted? It's author evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Purchase your copy to help maintain that flavor in your spiritual walk. This book is epic. It's sold on every major online bookstore, or go to CoreyThomasMinistries.com. I got my copy. Be sure to get yours. It's author evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Get your copy today.
Now, with that said, Corey is an actual friend of mine. Let's bless his heart for that one. And I'd like to say I taught him everything he knows. So not true. Corey's a graduate of Duke University, which I know doesn't roll over well here to those in Kentucky, but it doesn't matter. About the author, Corey Thomas is a former NFL player with the Detroit Lions and the Miami Dolphins. While attending Duke University as a student athlete, he set several football records, including the NCAA record in 1997. Corey Thomas is a global evangelist that hails from the eastern part of North Carolina. He's a husband, a father, and the son of parents who are rooted in faith. His mantra is this: I never lose, I either win or learn. And that's very true. In knowing him personally, he's just a heck of a guy. I mean, we're two people that should have butted heads, but we ended up having some of the most fruitful conversations I've ever had in my life. We both worked with Toyota at the same time, and in North Carolina. And he would teach me, like, I call them subliminal messages now, but he'd make me sit there and think about something. And he'd be like, "Yeah, just get back to me on it." Well, now it's 4 years later, and I get back to him on them. So, but this book, Sound Advice, is from the title here: Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. And I'll give you some just a little bit more on this. It says. Corey uses a quote here from Ludwig van Beethoven, which I find cool. Actually, uh, my mom made me study classical music one time. But music is a higher revelation than all wisdom and philosophy. Um, Corey Thomas here gives a riveting melody of critical thought and practical perspectives about God and the impact that music has on the lives of various listeners. Laced with biblical perspectives, life applications, and musical illustrations, this book will provide you with the engaging perspectives and music and spirituality. It's a refreshing look because it's intelligent. This isn't based on rhetoric and what I covered last week, how people love to throw around the word secular and have no idea what secularism even means. Um, but this taught me things and that I didn't know. And the best part about it to me is it just started with a lesson his mom taught him in church when he was a little kid. So it's a cool reading. It's all from the heart, and it's short. If anybody needs a copy, get with me or CoreyThomasMinistries.com. Um, and it's easy to find, and he'll give you a discount rate, I'm sure, if you mention to him that that Goodloe guy that beat him in a foot race that never happened. That works. All right. So what I do here is I always do a devotion every day. So you all happen to get to do one with me. So I always just open this book. Okay, this is Celebrate Recovery, 365-day devotional, and this is the 30th anniversary. All right. So when I open it, I don't plan on going anywhere. I don't do this in advance, and for some reason, it just works. And much like I don't question why I'm alive right now, I don't question how this happened. So, all right, this is going to be day 177. It's called Washing Socks. It's from Isaiah 53:5. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace upon him, and by his wounds we are healed. That's the truth. It took me 45 years to even understand what that meant, as I do now, and it's phenomenal. All right, so this is the devotion. One Christmas, I was watching the movie Santa Claus is Coming to Town with my grandchildren. One of those scenes has a young Kris Kringle talking with some kids a Washington station where at a washing station, I'm sorry, where they are washing their socks. Kris asks them what they are doing, and they answer that they are washing socks. We are judged by how much work we get done and how clean our socks are, they told him. I used to believe this is how life works. We're judged by how hard we work at being good and doing things in a perfect way. Today, I know that's wrong. This thinking is guaranteed to leave us exhausted and defeated. It's so much better to surrender our lives to God and to let Him cleanse our hearts and minds. He doesn't judge us, He heals us. No matter how hard we try, we simply cannot clean our socks and keep them clean on our own. But because He takes our feeble efforts and makes them right, we are judged worthy and perfect in His sight. We can spend our lives like those kids, working for what we will never achieve, or we can surrender to God and walk away whiter than snow. This is what I was pointing out tonight, and I'll get to it in 1 second. The prayer for this one, if you'd like to pray with me, is Father, you are the Master, the one who cleans our soiled hearts whiter than snow. Take my life and make it what it should be. I surrender all to you in Jesus' name. Amen. Again, celebrate recovery. For any of you that have substance use disorder or alcohol use disorder. And that is part of my main focus, but it comes back to it's obviously God first for me now, and it taken me. I'm always going to be a work in progress, and join my page or my group if you ever want to, have people to talk to, and that it's a non-judgmental zone. I mean, I don't care what religion somebody is. I don't care what color somebody is. I don't care what orientation somebody is. The pronouns thing, I still don't get quite that much, but maybe somebody can explain it to me one day. And I go from there. But let me show you a quick clip of what I um, look like. And this may have been the day I had to be resuscitated twice. And I think this was one of the days I was, but it's only a 10-second clip, so just bear with it.
Investigate Linda's case.
I said, what is going on here? Was she taking something to poison herself?
That's not a good look on anybody. Um, and but I keep that as reminders. And one of the important things that I want to cover, I do believe, yeah, I'm out of time. I do want to cover next week is I'm going to go more over the faith-based sobriety and so on and so on. And this week, for those that did listen, instead of calling yourself an addict or an alcoholic or something, think of it this way. And a guy named uh, Benji taught me this, and it's we're not addicts, we're not alcoholics, we're children of God that made some serious mistakes along the way. And we go from there and we live to grow. And I've got a bunch of writings and a lot to share, and it's free. And I actually prefer it that way. So, and thanks for everybody joining tonight. I know some more joined, and I really appreciate it. So, thank you all. Good night. God bless, and much love to everyone out there. And